All right, my secondary math 1 class. Today is going to be a review day, which means we are going to be covering everything we've talked about in this unit, and that means next class period, which will most likely be Wednesday, February 17th, because we don't have school the 15th, we will have our test. Okay, so let's get right into it. Okay, so if we look at numbers 1 through 4, it's giving us a graph and we're asked to find the slope of each line. Okay, well, whenever we're trying to find the slope of each line when given a graph, we are going to use rise over run. Okay, so let's look at number 1. We're trying to find rise over run. What is this going to be? Okay, well, look at my line. Notice how they don't give us any points on our line. So what we're going to have to do is actually find points on this line to put on it so that we can count from one point to the next, right? So I'm going to find where it perfectly lines up in a corner. And it perfectly lines up right there. Okay, now I need to find and right there. Okay, so now we're always going to start from our bottom point. Okay, because we need to rise first. So if I need to rise first, I'm going to start from my bottom point and I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4 until I get to that next point. Okay, so I know I had to rise 4. Well, now I have to run. So from where I'm standing right here on the graph, I have to run 1 to get to my next point. Okay, well, what is 4 divided by 1? How can we reduce it? Because remember, it's not going to be correct in your computer if you don't reduce it. So what is 4 divided by 1? It's going to be 4. Okay, last thing we need to see is it a positive 4 or a negative 4 if it's going down and to the right? It's going to be a negative 4. Okay, so let's make that note on our paper because that's super important. Okay, down to the right equals negative. Hence why we get negative 4 for our slope. Okay, awesome. Let's look at number 2. Okay, so I'm trying to find rise over run, but again, I don't have any points on this line. So I'm going to find where it perfectly lines up in a corner right there. Oh, and easy peasy right there. Okay. So I'm going to start with my bottom point, and I'm going to rise 1. Okay, so I had to rise 1, and from where I'm standing right there, I need to run 1. Okay, well, what is 1 divided by 1, or what is anything divided by 1? It's just itself, right? So we get 1. Okay, last thing we need to ask ourselves is this a positive or a negative 1? Going up to the right. It is going to be positive. Okay, so make this note on your notes. Up to the right equals a positive slope. Super important. You must put the positives and the negatives. So this is just positive 1. Beautiful. Okay, let's look at number 3. This one's kind of weird. Okay, so if we do our rise over run, so from a point, let's just say that there's a point right here and a point right here because it's perfectly lined up in the corners. Okay, well, from my bottom point, I'm going to rise 1, but then I don't have to run any. Okay, I'm actually going to run 0. And what happens whenever we divide something by 0? Can we do that in math? Can we make things disappear? No. So we call this undefined, or in your computer, we write DNE for does not exist. The slope does not exist. Whenever you see a straight up and down slope, it is undefined or DNE. Okay, number 4. Okay, so here's our line right here. So now I need to have my rise over run. Okay, So find 2 points. They're perfectly lined up in a corner, so you can pretty much go anywhere. I'll just do those 2 points right there. Okay, do I have to rise at all? No. Okay, I'm not rising at all. So my rise is 0. I am going to run 2. Okay, but let's say I have 0 pencils divided by 2 people. How many pencils does each person get? What is 0 divided by anything? It's 0. Okay, so whenever you see a flat line, okay, remember, think slope, snowboarding. If it's super flat, you're going to go really slow, like 0 miles per hour. So whenever you see a flat line, we know our slope is 0. Okay, awesome. So 1 through 4, we were finding the slope when given graphs. 5 and 6, we're finding the slope when given 2 coordinate points, which means we need to write down our slope formula. Okay, so I'm going to write down my slope formula on the side of my paper so I know exactly what I need to use on my test. Okay, so slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, awesome. So make sure you have this formula written on your paper. Super important to use on your test. Okay, now that I have that written down, let's go ahead and label what we have for 5 and 6. What are my y2s and my y1s? Okay, well, let's look at number 5. Okay, well, if this is my first coordinate point, -6, -10, that means this is my first x, and this is my first y, or x1 and y1. If this is my second coordinate point, that means this is my x2 and my y2. Okay, well, now that we have it labeled, let's go ahead and fill in our formula, but without the x1s, the y1s, and the x2s and y2s. Okay, so we're just going to leave these blank spaces and fill them in. Okay, so on the top of my formula, what comes first is y2. So I'm going to find my y2, and that's going to give me 2. And it is subtracting my y1, and my y1 is -10. Okay, so we filled in the top. Let's go ahead and fill in the bottom. So now I have x2 in this spot, and that's going to give me 20. Subtract my x1, which is -6. Okay, well, let's look at the top. 2 minus a negative. What happens with this double negative? Turns into a positive. Okay, so now we get 2 plus 10. So what is 2 plus 10? We get 12 on top. Beautiful. Okay, well, now let's look at the bottom. 20 minus a -6. What is 20 double negative? What does this double negative turn into? Turns into a positive. So now I get 20 plus 6. What is 20 plus 6? I get 26. Okay, so now we need to see if we can reduce. So look at 12 over 26. I see that both of these numbers are even, which means I can divide both of them by 2 to reduce it down. So now I get 12 divided by 2 on top is going to give me 6. 26 divided by 2 on bottom is going to give me 13. Okay, now there's no numbers that I can divide both 6 and 13 by, so this is our reduced slope. Awesome. Okay, let's do the same thing for number 6. So first thing we got to do is label our x1s, y1s, x2s, and y2s. So if this is my first coordinate point, -15, 1, that means this is my x1 and my y1. If this is my second coordinate point, this means this is my x2 and my y2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and fill in our formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and what are we going to get? Okay, so let's fill it in. So first comes my y2, and this lines up with -7. Okay, subtract my y1, which is 1. Then on bottom, I have x2, which is negative 6, subtract my x1, which is negative 15. Okay, let's go ahead and solve it. On top, I have negative 7 minus 1 more, so I'm getting more negative here. Think I owe you $7, and now I owe you another dollar. How much do I owe you? I'm going to owe you $8, or negative 8. Okay, and on bottom, I have negative 6 minus a negative 15. What does this double negative turn into? Positive. Okay, so now I have negative 6 plus 15. And remember, you're always welcome to use a calculator, but think I owe you $6, but then I give you $15. How many extra dollars did I give you? I gave you 9 extra dollars. Okay, so now we have negative 8 on top, positive 9 on bottom. No negatives cancel out, and there's no numbers that I can divide both of these guys by to reduce it. So negative 8 over 9 is our final answer. Okay, awesome. So we found the slope when given 2 coordinate points. So now what we're going to do is find the slope when given a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, well, let's write down slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's write it right here. Slope-intercept form. Okay, the slope-intercept form is always written as y equals m times x plus b. Okay, well, if it's always written like this, these are a bunch of numbers, but what do these letters, a bunch of letters, what do these letters mean? Okay, well, our m, whatever number is always right in front of that x, that is always our slope. Okay, our b is always our y-intercept, hence why it's called slope-intercept form, because it tells us our slope and our y-intercept. So for numbers 7 and 8, we're trying to find the slope. So pretty simple. What is the number that's right in front of the x? So what is my slope for number 7? What is the number right in front of the x? It's going to be a negative 1. Remember, 1 is that number that's being multiplied or divided. That's always there. It's that creepy number that kind of disappears. So our slope is negative 1. Okay, well, what is my slope then for number 8? What is the number right in front of my x? 1/2. And easy peasy. So we can find slope when given linear equations in slope-intercept form, because whatever is right in front of our x is our slope. Okay, 9 and 10. So these are linear equations, but they're not written in slope-intercept form. So what we're trying to do is rewrite them so that we can then find the slope. Okay, so let's look at number 9. If I want slope-intercept form, that means my y has to be by itself. Okay, so let's look at number 9. We can ignore the negative 4. He's already over on that side. We need to get rid of what's farthest away, which is this x. So how do I get rid of, or what is the opposite of positive x? It's going to be negative x, and that's going to move him over here. Okay, so what I'm left with is negative y equals, and we want to write our term with the x first, because that's how it's written in our formula. So I'm going to write negative x first, and the minus 4 that was already over there. Okay, my last step is to get rid of this negative that's attached to the y. Okay, well, remember the little trick. This negative needs to jump over here, which what does it do to these signs, these negative signs? It changes them. Okay, so it changes the signs over there. Okay, so now I have y equals, because it jumped over there, and instead of negative x, I have positive x, and instead of negative 4, I have positive 4. And there is my equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, last example. We can ignore the negative 4, he's already over there, but we need to get rid of whatever is farthest away, which is this 10x. So what is the opposite of positive 10x? It's It's going to give me negative 10x, and that's going to move him over there. Okay, so now I'm left with just a positive y, which is just y. Oh, beautiful. Y is all by itself. Which one do I need to write first? The one with the x or the one without the x? The one with the x. Okay, so I'm going to write negative 10x and the minus 4 that was already over there. And there is our equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, well now that we've rewritten them, let's identify the slope. So for number 9, we're going back to number 9. What is my slope? What is the number that's right in front of the x? It's that invisible number 1. Okay, and what is my slope for number 10? It's the number right in front of the x. So we know our slope is negative 10. And there we go. So you have an assignment that goes with these notes. Awesome job, you guys.